Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rulebook Room. I'm Hard. Today's case sits at the crossroads of personal law clarification and criminal procedural relief. It asks a question that is both technical and deeply consequential. If a marriage is legally flawed under personal law, does that automatically disentitle a woman from claiming maintenance? The Supreme Court in Chand Patel versus Bismillah Begum answers this through a careful engagement with Muslim personal law categories and the scope of Section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code. This is not a case about expanding rights beyond the statute, nor is it a case about constitutional reinterpretation. Instead, it is about clarification whether a marriage is void or irregular and how that classification determines entitlement to maintenance. Let's unpack. The dispute begins with a maintenance claim. Bismillah Begum filed an application under Section 125 CRPC. She sought maintenance for herself and her minor daughter. Her claim was straightforward. She was the legally wedded wife of the appellant, Chand Patel. Their marriage has been consummated. A daughter was born from the union, and the husband had neglected to maintain them. Now, here is the twist. The respondent herself admitted the appellant was already married to her elder sister, and yet the appellant married her as well. They lived together under one roof, the child was acknowledged and raised by him. The husband took a complete denial. He denied the marriage, denied any relationship, denied paternity. But more importantly, his legal argument was this: even if such a marriage existed, it would be void under Muslim law because marrying two sisters simultaneously is prohibited. Based on these facts, the trial court granted maintenance to both mother and child. Revisional court upheld the order. High court, dealing with section 482 CRPC, refused to interfere. The matter then reached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court narrowed the controversy to a precise legal issue. First, if a marriage with a wife's sister during the subsistence of the first marriage void or merely irregular under Muslim law. Second, if such a marriage is irregular and not void, can the woman claim maintenance under section 125 CRPC? Third, can courts adjudicate the validity of marriage in proceedings under Section 125 CRPC? Now, the court's reasoning is highly structured and doctrinal. The court begins by stating the entire case depends on legal status of the union. There are two possibilities. If the marriage is void, batil, no rights arise. If the marriage is irregular, fasid, it subsists until set aside. This distinction becomes the backbone of the judgment. Interestingly, the court draws an analogy with Hindu Marriage Act's void marriages under Section 11 and voidable marriages under Section 12. This is not to import Hindu law, but to clarify the conceptual distinction between a marriage void from inception and a marriage valid until annulled. The court then turns to authoritative Muslim law texts, especially categories of marriage: void, batil, absolutely prohibited; irregular, fasid, temporarily prohibited. The key provision, unlawful conjunction, marriage with wife's sister, is irregular, not void. The court adopts the reasoning of the Bombay High Court in Tajbee's case. The prohibition is temporary, not absolute. Why? Because the impediment can be removed by divorce of the first wife or her death. So the marriage is not inherently unlawful, only conditionally prohibited. The court carefully notes the legal consequences. If consummated, the wife entitled to dower must observe iddat and children are legitimate, but no mutual inheritance rights. This reinforces an irregular marriage has legal consequences, unlike a void marriage. Now comes the key shift. The court links personal law clarification with Section 125 CRPC. Section 125 CRPC applies irrespective of religion. It provides summary relief. It does not require detailed adjudication of marital validity. The court affirms if the marriage subsists in law, even if irregular, maintenance can be granted until declared void. The appellant relied on cases dealing with void marriages, but the court distinguishes them. Those cases apply only where marriage is void ipso jure. Here, the marriage is irregular, not void. Hence, those precedents are inapplicable. Let's crystallize the holding. A marriage between a man and his wife's sister during the subsistence of the earlier marriage is irregular, fasid, not void, batil, under Muslim law. Such a marriage continues to subsist until declared void by a competent court. Therefore, the woman and her child are entitled to maintenance under Section 125 CRPC. Now, when we apply all these provisions to the present case, marriage was accepted as having taken place, it was consummated, and a child was born. Since the marriage was irregular, not void, and had not been declared void, maintenance was granted to the wife and the child, and appeal was eventually dismissed. Now, staying strictly within the judgment's framework, a few observations can emerge. First, the court bases its conclusion almost entirely on Mullah's principle and judicial precedents. This reflects a contextual and doctrinal approach rather than a policy driven one. Second, while the court affirms applicability of Section 125 of CRPC, it does not deeply explore its social justice objective. Instead, it ties entitlement primarily to marital classification. So the reasoning remains status based, not welfare driven. Third, unlike later jurisprudence, no reliance is placed on constitutional principles or even reference to international norms. The judgment remains firmly within personal law and statutory interpretation. Fourth, the court's key move is subtle. It avoids deciding validity conclusively, focuses on continued subsistence until annulment. This allows grant of maintenance without disturbing personal law structure. So, in conclusion, we can ask what does this case ultimately teach us? It shows that in personal law, classification matters, but in procedural law, subsistence matters more. Even a flawed marriage, if not void from inception, if not yet annulled, can still create enforceable obligations. And Section 125 CRPC steps in precisely at that intersection, not to validate marriage, not to prevent destitution. The Supreme Court doesn't expand the law here. It simply reads it carefully and, in doing so, ensures that technical classifications do not defeat basic entitlements that flow from a subsisting relationship. That's all for today's episode. If you are enjoying these nuanced explorations of how personal law and procedural safeguards interact, stay tuned. See you next time. Until then, bye.